Hello and welcome. My name is Meepolis, they, he, she, and today we are looking at and talking about New Kid, Class Act, and School Trip by Jerry Craft. This universe of comics has been published by Quill Tree Books, an imprint of HarperCollins marked as Harper Alley in 2019, 2020, and 2023, respectively. Content notes for racism, reference to slurs, stereotypes, bullying, needle and germs. Flipping the book over, HarperCollins recommends these books for people ages 8 to 12. Clicking over to his website, Jerry Craft describes himself as, quote, the New York Times bestselling author and illustrator of the graphic novels New Kid and Class Act. New Kid is the only book in history to win the John Newbery Medal for Most Outstanding Contribution to Children's Literature 2020, the Kirkus Prize for Younger Readers Literature 2019, and the Coretta Scott King Author Award for the Most Outstanding Work by an African American Writer 2020. Jerry was born in Harlem and grew up in the Washington Heights section of New York City, end quote. Keywords that came to mind reading this trio of books includes coming of age, parents know best, being in the minority, punching down versus up, incompetent adults, school year, artist, scholarship, race, class, and doing new things. Looking at the original New Kid summary, we have, quote, a graphic novel about starting over at a new school where diversity is low and the struggle to fit in is real. 7th grader Jordan Banks loves nothing more than drawing cartoons about his life, but instead of sending him to the art school of his dreams, his parents enroll him in a prestigious private school known for its academics, where Jordan is one of the few kids of color in his entire grade. As he makes the daily trip from his Washington Heights apartment to the upscale Riverdale Academy Day School, Jordan soon finds himself torn between two worlds, and not entirely fitting into either one. Can Jordan learn to navigate his new school culture while keeping his neighborhood friends and staying true to himself? End quote. And to summarize the summaries of the next two books, they are about Jordan's second year at Riverdale Academy Day School and about a class trip to Paris, respectively. Definitely fictional, these books are loosely based on Jerry and his son's experiences in institutions like Riverdale Academy Day School. Looking at the way these books are marketed as companion books, I would still recommend people read them in publication order. I'm kind of assuming that there will be more, but I'm not positive. Jordan and friends will be transitioning out of middle school, so maybe Jerry will move on to a new character as well. That might be a reason for books to be called companion books and not sequels. I don't know. Thoughts. Fast-paced with a lot of different things going on, I could see this being a pretty easy and engaging read, if a bit silly and ridiculous at times for my poor old long past middle school brain. Also clearly a very educational read for many of us. I would have really appreciated having a book like this to read when I was 8 to 12-ish. I would say a lot of things expanded and were refined as we go through the trio of books. Class, well, a far cry from Das Kapital, as I say, was definitely one of the categories most focused on in this book alongside race. Obviously, Jerry breaks down stereotypes around race and class, which is very important, while still focusing on a fairly relatable character, balancing the need to not ignore the constraints of not being super wealthy, but also keeping the story fun. I was a bit turned off by the oddly sallow nature of the skin tones for non-black POC characters initially, but that did seem to shift as we went along. It's interesting to watch as a creator's style changes across the series, particularly as we jump from book to book. Similarly, the tight focus on Jordan and his friends, Drew and Liam, did expand to include more three-dimensional characters across the spectrums of race, class, and ethnicity, which felt like a pretty natural growth for the series. Not that all tightly focused books are not good, but sometimes it felt like the, quote, diverse people outside of Jordan and company were a bit one-dimensional and perhaps relied a bit on stereotypes, maybe. I wasn't terribly surprised that gender was pretty binary, but there was some discourse around manly handshakes and that girls are annoying that felt a bit excessive. Sexuality was very one note, between the kinds of relationships the students' parents were apparently in to the kinds of relationship expectations our characters saw in their future. While I would bet money that not everyone in this book is perfectly able-bodied, it all felt pretty nebulous and unlabeled, not uncommon. There's no direct mention of COVID, but there is a spread about how we are moving past handshakes because germs. That definitely gave a nod to early pandemic culture changes I really hope continue into the distant future. And that's all they wrote. Bye, y'all. Keep reading Unorganized and Capitalist Oppression. And as always, Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders, which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.